Welcome or welcome back, my loves. It's Duchess, and today I'm a bit more emotionally connected to this topic than all of my other topics because it feels that much more real to me and is something that I have been dealing with up until very recently. It's something that I still deal with on a day-to-day basis because I would admit I will have my good days and then I will have my days where I fall back into this mental habit. Because there was a time in my life where I felt completely invisible. Not in the dramatic, no one wants to talk to me kind of way, but in the very subtle way in which you find yourself fading when you're standing in rooms full of people. People will forget my name, forget I exist. I felt like my voice was often drowned out. And I'd walk into a room and feel like nobody even noticed that I was there. So I kept wondering, what's wrong with me? But here's the truth that I realized. I wasn't invisible because of how I looked, but it was how I saw myself internally. I was invisible because of my own internal world. The world in which I created where no one saw me. The world in which I created where I was convinced that I was not of significance to the people around me. And when I started changing that, even in my day-to-day life now, when I make the conscious effort to change that, I do see a difference in my day-to-day interactions. So I'm not going to talk to you about a magical glow up. I'm never going to do that actually. I'm not going to talk to you about spending thousands and thousands of dollars on some random procedure, unless you want to. But this is going to be about how I rebuilt myself from the inside out and how I went from feeling invisible to now being someone that I feel like people are drawn to. So let's talk about it because I'm going to show you how you can too. For a long time, I lived my life waiting for someone to tell me that I was good enough. I wanted people to validate my choices before I made them. I would often state my opinion and then turn around and say, do you think that's a good idea or no? I literally wanted compliments before I even felt confident in what I was doing. I probably dressed a certain way, hoping that someone would notice, dress along with trends so that someone could say something about it, not necessarily how I felt comfortable dressing. Or I'd say something that in my head, I'm like, ooh, you ate that. That was really smart. But then I would second guess myself if it is I feel like no one really reacted. And then every time I didn't get the response that I hoped for, I would shrink myself more. And here are the lessons I learned the hard way. You don't get noticed by chasing validation. Human beings have an uncanny ability to sense the desperation of a person. You get noticed when you stand firm in who you are. I noticed this when I stopped asking for permission and just did what I wanted. I stopped waiting for someone to crown me as worthy. And I just started showing up as I already was. If people liked it, great. If people didn't, okay. Because if you act like you belong, people start treating you like you do. If you carry yourself with confidence, you literally notice people start to mirror that belief. They would start to tell you things like, oh, I think I'm spending a lot of time with you because some of your traits are kind of rubbing off on me a bit. And the best part about this was that the more I trusted myself, the less I needed anyone else to. Reinvention begins with how you think, not with how you dress, not with how you do your makeup. It all begins in your mind. So I got brutally honest about the mental habits that I was holding myself to. Constant comparison, which led to insecurity. Overthinking everything I said or I did, which naturally led to low self-esteem and high social anxiety. And assuming I wasn't good enough before I even tried, which made me fall more into that habit of leaning into imposter syndrome. Even though I knew I was qualified for something, I would hold myself back or tell myself no before I faced that rejection from someone else. Every time I thought, okay, they probably didn't like me, I ask myself, am I just scared of not being chosen? The truth is that I was rejecting myself first. This way, it would hurt less if other people did it. So I ended up flipping the script. Whenever my brain gave me a fear-based thought, I answered back. Yes, sometimes I talk to myself. We all do. Don't pretend like you don't. Instead of saying, okay, I'm not good enough, I remind myself that this is my first life. I'm now learning. I'm now starting at this. Instead of saying that person is way better than me, I acknowledge they're really good at that particular thing, but that doesn't mean that I need to compare myself to them because they are different from me. Maybe they're good at that particular thing. I may be good at that, but if I'm not, there might be something else that I might be good at. It doesn't mean that my value is inherently less because of it. Instead of saying, what if I fail? I found so much more power in saying, what if I don't? One of the scariest things for me was having a YouTube channel, because what if you make videos and you get 0 views or you get 3 views and you spend years and nothing comes out of it? What happens then? Okay, that's a possibility. But what if you also make a channel and your views steadily increase? You stick at it for 6 months, you stick at it for a year, you stick at it for 2 years, and in that time your views increase, your subscriber count increase, and your community increases. What then? What are you going to do then? And having that thought process instead of what if I fail gave me so much more drive and so much more confidence to pursue so many other things outside of this. And I think there's something beautiful in that. I know it sounds pretty simple, but those daily mental shifts rebuilt my self-image one thought at a time. For years, I remember trying to blend in. I didn't want to be seen as too much. I was afraid of being judged, afraid of being seen, afraid of all the woodworks. But you can't say you want to be irresistible, but then want to be invisible at the same time. Like, you have to pick one. So I ended up challenging myself to take up space. I would begin speaking up in rooms where I would usually stay quiet, disconnect myself from the thought process of the person that felt like they needed to hide, and reinvent myself with the mindset of, okay, this is what happens when I don't speak up. What is gonna happen if I approach this entire thing completely different? If I walk into the room full of life, saying hi to everyone and sharing my opinions on discussions that are happening, what's gonna happen then? I started wearing the things that I love, not necessarily things that were safe. Because what I've had to deal with in my life is that I love to dress in pretty dresses. I love to do my hair. I love to do my makeup. I love to wear lip gloss. I love to smell nice. I just love to be as feminine as I possibly can be. That's where I thrive. That's where I find that I'm most productive. That's where I find that I'm happiest. But sometimes, depending on the persons that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, you find that it's quote-unquote safer for you to dress down, for you to dress in baggy clothes, for you to dress in sweats, or for you to not be as conscious about doing your makeup, not be as conscious about doing your hair, because you do know that when you put effort into your look, you stand out a lot more. People compliment you a lot more. People give you that attention a lot more. And well, me personally, I never wanted to make certain people feel uncomfortable when they were around me. I never wanted to trigger any insecurity. I never wanted to be the cause of them remembering their low self-esteem or them not being the center of attention just because I put a little bit more effort into my look for that day, you know? But it took me realizing that I can't want to be full of life in some places and shrink myself in other places. That's gonna be confusing to my mind, and my self-concept is either I am or I'm not. And life flows that much easier for me when I step into the version of myself that is full of life, full of confidence, that takes care of herself, that wears the pretty dresses, does her makeup, does her hair. Like, that's the version of me that I like most. That's the version of me that I want to carry into my life years and years and years to come. These people that are trying to put me into this small box, I may not even know them in the next 5 years. I may not even have to interact with them in the next 10 years. Am I really going to mess with my own self-concept to please people who may not even matter in the next 5 years? Absolutely not. So that's when I started to take that change and say, you know what, I'll deal with whatever comes as a result of this, but I feel better when I take care of myself. And the most important person in this entire experience of my life is me. I showed up online even when I felt awkward. These videos are still quite awkward for me, but I know that do something long enough and it becomes second nature. I know that one day there would come a time where I sit in front of the camera and I just flow with it. I feel comfortable. I don't second guess myself on videos, on the thoughts that I'm expressing and sharing. But in order to get to there, I need to start showing up from now. So that's what I started to do. And I decided to say what I think, even if not everyone agrees. It's a powerful thing when you have the understanding in your mind that people are allowed to disagree with you. People are allowed to share a different opinion from you, because everyone's experience in this walk of life is inherently the same but different at the same time. So I will have an opinion, I will have a particular view, and if 95% of people agree with me, there will always be that 5% that says absolutely not. That's ludicrous. That's probably the most dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But that's fair. They are allowed to feel like that. That doesn't mean that I'm less smart. That doesn't mean that I'm a bad person for having my thoughts and my opinions. It just means that we all are allowed to have different perspectives on things because we all have different journeys in life. Let me be clear. I didn't wake up one day and was suddenly fearless. I felt the fear, understood that what I was feeling was fair, and I moved anyway. And every time I did, I could feel something inside me unlock. I like to think of it as when you're trying or learning something new, there are literal new neuron pathways being formed in your brain. And the journey of a neuron pathway growing is dependent on how long you spend learning that new particular thing. And it ends up connecting and making an entire system the more you progress in your knowledge of this particular thing. It was never meant to be a one and done thing. It was never meant to be an overnight thing. It's always a process that needs time, that needs care, and needs devotion in order to be fulfilled. So because of this, people started to see me a lot differently, and it wasn't because I changed how I looked. It was because I finally allowed the world to see me. I stopped putting on this mask of who I thought people would feel safe around and started to showcase who I really am, regardless of who felt uncomfortable as a result. At the core of this reinvention, there is the truth that you can't feel good about yourself if you treat yourself like an afterthought. So I started treating myself like someone worth showing up for. Morning routines that grounded me. movement that did not feel like punishment, and intentional self-care. And I'm not just talking about face masks and wine, though that's my favorite pastime, I'm not even gonna lie to you. But I do also include little things like stretching and reading and journaling as a part of my self-care. Also, I celebrate my small wins even if they don't seem like a big deal to anyone. I celebrate myself if I went through a week of sticking to a particular goal. I buy something for myself. I take myself to like a eatery to try a new dish, or get myself a cute little trinket. I get myself a cute little charm for my keychain, or something that when I look at it, it says, yes, I got this because I accomplished this particular thing. And this is proof that I can accomplish things. This here is proof that I stick to things that I plan. I stick to goals, I stick to systems, I stick to habits, I stick to routines. This is a reminder that I am a disciplined person and that I get things done and I achieve anything that I set my mind to. Slowly but surely, I stopped relying on compliments to feel good because I was already finding ways to self-validate. And when people notice that you take really good care of yourself, it becomes that much easier for them to take care of you. So here is what I want you to take away from this video. Reinvention does not mean you need to become someone else. It just means going deep into yourself and finding all of your fears, finding all of your insecurities, finding all of your anxieties, and realizing that these things aren't you. You're under all of that. These are just things that are holding you down and stopping you from becoming the type of person that you want to be. Find who you are under all of that filth and nonsense. You really don't need all the extra. You just need to begin showing up as someone who you know matters. That's what makes you irresistible. It's never going to be a phase. It's not going to be a followers, because you see so many examples in day-to-day life of supermodels and people with 1 million plus followers and making 7 and 6 figures a year. And they still are lacking that one thing. They're still unhappy in some regard. It is a lot easier to get underneath the root of all of that low self-esteem now, so that you're never in a position that when you do achieve the successes that you want, you're never one of those statistics that, see, even though this person has all of this money, they're still unhappy and they're still insecure on it. No. Deal with that now. It's all determined by your presence, your self-trust, and your commitment to stop hiding. Because once you make the choice to stop playing small, the world literally has no other choice but to look up. A little bit more serious note, but if it is you did make it to the end of this video, I appreciate you, I love you, and I thank you so much for subscribing. I hope to see you again tomorrow because I do post every single day. I love you. Bye.